As demonstrated in the previous film, control values can be saved and recalled with a preset button in the same way one might recall a save patch from a memory on a synthesizer. In contrast to this instantaneous recall of saved values, sync recall is an incremental, tempo-synchronized transition to a saved value which allows the user to create dynamic and evolving parameter changes in time with the music. As with the save and recall function, sync recall is achieved with scripting in Lima. The sync recall script can be applied to any type of control such as knobs or panners, but in this film I will again be using faders to demonstrate the principle. You can see that currently on Lima I have two faders mapped to two faders in Reaper. Here they are. I also have a preset button, a save button, a sync button, and an additional 6 buttons that allow the user to set the measure value. The sync recall script relies upon a set of dynamically updated variable values to monitor and control the fader positions. To help me explain this, I've created some value monitors for these variables. These are saved, captured, difference, counter, and measure. I also have a readout for increment size and some readouts here for clock related information such as current running status, beat counter, and current BPM. Okay, so how does this work? Well, let's begin by looking at the script. As you can see, the script's execution mode is set to on clock with a setting of 1/64th note. This means that it will be executed on every 64th note of the current MIDI clock, or 64 times per bar. Therefore, if we wish to make a sync recall that lasts for the duration of 1 bar of music, the script must move the fader 1/64th of the difference between its current position and the saved preset value to be recalled each time the script runs. So let's assume a hypothetical situation then, perhaps during a live performance or whilst trying out a compositional idea in the studio where the user has manually adjusted the faders to something other than their preset positions. So first of all, I'll save something in preset 1. Let's put my faders to somewhere near the top, something like this, so 127 and 121, and I will save those values. And then in our hypothetical situation, during a performance or in the studio, we've moved the controls away from those preset values. I should state at this point that the clock is not running because I want to demonstrate this next section in stages, but I'll switch it on in a moment so we can see this working. So to instigate a 1 bar sync recall, the user first activates sync mode by pressing the sync button. With the sync mode activated, when the preset button is pressed, the current fader values are captured and deducted from the preset saved values, giving a difference value for each fader. So let's just try this. As soon as I press the preset button now, we'll see the captured value change. So the captured value is the current value of the faders, which is then deducted from the saved value to give us a difference value for each. This difference value is divided by the measure value, currently set to 64, to give the increment size value that the script must move the fader each time it runs. To ensure that the script runs the precise amount of times necessary to complete the recall and no more, a counter variable is incremented each time the script runs. The script checks that the value of this counter does not exceed the measure variable before applying each increment to the fader. So let's just try this out then. I'm going to switch the clock back on now, and we'll try this in action. So you can see the clock is running now. Lima is receiving the clock, and I should say I've got this set to work much slower than in normal speed so that we can see this process happening with the counter incrementing and the faders moving clearly. So I choose somewhere, put my controls somewhere, engage sync mode, and press the preset to recall the saved amount via sync recall. Now we can see the faders have started moving, the script is running, and the counter is incrementing each time the script runs. So what's happening is this increment size here is being added to each one of these faders. They have an independent increment size, as you can see, each time the script runs, and then the counter has been incremented by 1 each time, and it will run precisely 64 times. The script will then be deactivated, and we should have the value of our saved preset recalled with the faders, and we can see that we do. So let's reset the system back to full speed and try that again so that we can see how this would look in real time. I'm just going to reset the faders to somewhere else, engage sync mode, and then recall preset 1, and we can see much quicker and smoother this time. At 105 BPM, that was a 1 bar sync recall back to our saved values. If we want the sync recall duration to be longer than 1 bar, we could set the measure variable with these 6 selector buttons here, and so simply we have 64 for 1 bar, 128 for 2 bars, 256 for 4 bars, and so on, all the way up to 32 bars, which would be 2048 measures, which would mean the script would have to run 2048 times. So let's try an example of that. I will try a 4 bar example, and let's move my faders to somewhere else again, engage sync mode, and recall the preset. This time the counter will increment, and it will increment 256 times, which is equivalent to 4 bars at 105 BPM, and once that's elapsed, we will be back to our saved values over the course of 4 bars. The most significant aspect of this sync recall technique is that when we have multiple controls to recall, the script calculates their increment sizes independently, which means that they will move at different speeds relative to their distance from the preset saved values, allowing them to arrive at the target value at the same time, regardless of distance of travel. This is crucial for generating parameter transitions in a musical context, as it means that previously saved values are recalled precisely on beat. So let's make an extreme example of that here. My currently saved preset values are 116 and 92, so let's maybe move this one just a little way, perhaps to 97, and I'll move the second fader all the way down to the bottom here, and we'll do a 4 bar sync recall. So I'll engage sync mode, and I'll press preset 1, and you can see both faders are moving now. It's just that fader 1 is moving much slower than fader 2, and their increment sizes are quite a lot different, but they both arrive at their destination at the saved value at the same time.